right, let's make some real materials. So I'm gonna start with the columns. So Control Alt right click on the columns and isolate. All right, we have three options to make materials. So one of them would be using materials from asset browser, drag and drop to the surface and make a material just like that. All right, another one. Or even, let me delete this, or even select the old one and click on new one and replace the material. All right. Another option would be to use smart materials. And smart materials are basically a stack of materials inside a folder, stack of materials plus some effects and some damage and other things. So if I grab this one, the bronze, and drop it here, it's gonna react to our baked mesh maps. This is a folder, bronze armor. If I open up that, as you can see, we have a base metal. Let me disable other stuff. This is a base metal combining with a dirt and surface detail. Also edge damage and sharpen. You can create your own smart material by creating a folder. For example, a fill layer inside the folder. Let's make it metallic glass and change the color to something like this. Then add another fill layer. And let me use smart mask. I'm not going to explain that right now, but more on that in future. So let me grab a concrete damage and drag and drop it on the new layer. Then add, for example, another fill layer with a black mask, with a fill layer to that black mask. And for grayscale, let's use, I don't know, maybe this grunge. All right. Now close up that, change the name to something, I don't know, something like that. Right click on the folder and create smart material, just like that. And because this mask editor or this mask grunge are using the same setting, the overall general settings, this mask editor is gonna use world space normal, position, thickness corresponding to each mesh. So if I choose another, for example, the phone body, and drag and drop this new material to this one, it's gonna react to all the edges and grunges and the projection and all of that good stuff. And it's gonna work on the new surface. So let's go back to column, delete this folder. So you can use your base materials created inside Substance Designer, exported, then imported inside Substance Painter, or smart materials, a stack of materials and effects. So let me show you one of my material creations, sloppy brick. I'm gonna grab this SPSAR or compile the version of the Substance material, Substance Designer material. Grab this, put it in here, Asset Browser. It's gonna set to base material because I just edited this one, and this is a new feature. It's gonna recognize the base material by default. And current session, import. It's gonna import my material here inside Substance 3D Painter. If I grab that, drag and drop here, as you can see, now we have some bricks. It's not looking that good because of the projection, offset, and also, more important than anything, the displacement. If I add a little bit of displacement and add a little bit of subdivision, as you can see, let me tile that maybe 3 times. As you can see, it's gonna show the displacement in viewport. Just like that. All right, let me disable that because that's gonna kill my machine. So, all right, so 3 options. Using base materials, using smart materials. Third option would be making our own materials. How? Let me show you. Create a new fill layer. All right. Let's call this one base. It's a good habit to have a good base layer with almost nothing happening. For example, roughness all the way up, make it really rough. Height in 0. Color doesn't matter, you can disable or keep it enabled. Metallic all the way to the black or non-metallic, and normal, it doesn't have any info in it. So that's that. Let's create another fill layer. Let's call this one bump. Hold Alt and click on height because we need to have height channel only for this bump layer. So let's add a little bit of positive height. For example, 0.2. All right, nothing's happening because we don't have any actual height value. So let's go and add a black mask. We're going to control the height with the material and add a height value or height grayscale grunge to the mask. So create a black mask, create a fill layer to that black mask. Then let's go to our textures inside Asset Browser and find, for example, a cloud. Search for cloud 1, drag and drop it inside grayscale value input. All right, we have the seam issue, so we need to use triplanar. Hold Alt, click on your mask to see the mask only. Go down to the cloud setting, noise parameters, and scale that a couple of times or maybe all the way. Hit M to see the result. All right, now we have a little bit of bump to the surface. All right, that's good. If I go back to material and add more height value, as you can see, I can change the value for height. All right, let's combine another fill layer to this fill layer. If I add a fill layer here inside the from the magic wand, it's not gonna have or inherit the projection triplanar value. So it's a good habit to use the same old fill layer. So hit Ctrl D here and duplicate the cloth. Now let's go and change the input value from texture to another grunge, maybe something like this one. Drag and let me close this 3D projection setting. Drag and drop this one and replace the cloud with the new grunge. All right, Alt and click on the mask, and as you can see, we have new grunge. But the only grunge that's showing is the top grunge. Let me multiply these two grunge together and have new grunge happening. Right inside the grunge charcoal, let's go and change the balance. Maybe tile that a couple of times. All right, and drop the opacity a little bit to be able to see grunge below that. All right, that's good. Now, let's add another layer on top called color. Alt click on color and only keep the color value. If I open up this old texture, or now let me go for the concept and have the concept over here. All right, inside the color, let me keep set the pure ref to always on top. All right, now select this eye drop and sample a neutral color, just like that. Also, you can add this color to color swatch and use that for another project or for another part of the model. So we have our base color. So we need to have a variation of colors based on this height that we just created. So how are we gonna do that? Ctrl D and duplicate the color and call this one color var or color variation. All right, let's multiply this color and make it a little bit darker, or not. Let's keep that in normal and make the color actually a little bit darker, just like that. Or even sample this new color from darker areas. Maybe here. All right. Now, inside the mask, at the top of the two grunges, let's go to black magic wand and add a anchor point. And with the help of anchor point, we can pass these effects going on down here to another layer. So by default, it's gonna inherit the name of the mask or layer. So it's gonna be bump mask. That's good. So let's go and add a black mask to the color variation. All right. In order to summon this bump mask, you need to add a fill layer to this new color variation fill layer. Then in here inside the grunge input, click, open up that, and now we have resource that we had before plus anchor points. Click on this tab and choose this anchor point. All right, Alt, click, and as you can see in here, we have our bump pass through this layer. So I'm clicking on the bump mask, then bump color variation. So let's make this color a little bit darker. It's too light. And as you can see, let me add a obvious color. And this is the area that we masked and coloring. So let's go, and on top of this field, grayscale input, add a level. And with the help of the layer level, we can invert that effect. Also, in here, we have a level available for us. Invert that from that part. So you can change the level handles to change the effect going on at the surface. All right, let's go and let's go to the material. Let me sample from this part of the mesh, or let me sample from here, the darkest part of the concept. All right, that's good, nice. And the funny part is if I go back to grunge and, for example, move the grunge, as you can see, I'm affecting the color as well. Random seed. All right, and moving up and down. All right, that's nice and all. Now let's add another bump on top of everything, but this time let's control the grunge and also the color at the same time. So let's create another fill layer. Let's call that for example, micro bump or micro surface. Now add a black mask, a fill layer to the black mask. Let's go to the textures inside Asset Browser, find BNW noises. Where is it? Here, BNW 3. Drag and drop inside Grayscale. Let's see that isolated, but by holding the Alt and click. All right. Noise parameters. Add a little bit more noise. Escape. Let me add a obvious color to see the result first. Maybe tile that a couple of times. All right, now if I go back to material and add a little bit of height, as you can see, we are be able to add more height value. All right, let's make these new areas a little bit glacier. Just like this. And you can rotate the light by holding Shift and right click, side to side. All right, now let's sample a color from for this new layer. Maybe something lighter. No, darker. And also we can change the blending mode to whatever we want. So let's cycle through by using arrow key. This one nice, linear dodge add. All right, it's good. Let's see all together by clicking on here, focus mode. All right. Now, isolate again. Let's duplicate this layer, Control D, and call that scratches. All right. Make the color lighter. Go inside the black mask and fill layer. Inside the asset browser textures, let's search for scratches. And these are subsurface material as well. So let's drag and drop one of them here. Go to your material and change the height to negative height. Back to your scratches. You have more than a few options. Maybe less length. And scratch blur. All right. And dust tiling, I don't know. All right, I guess that's good. Now another one would be adding some edge highlights. So create another fill layer. Call this one, I don't know, maybe curvature. All right, black mask. This time, let's use another trick. Add a fill layer. Instead of using the regular texture, let's use a baked mesh maps as a texture, so as a mask. So in here, inside fill layer, open up the grayscale. All right, now look at your material name. So that would be column. It's gonna isolate the column baked mesh maps. So now let's use the curvature. All right, if I hold Alt and click on mask, this is our baked curvature. This is not usable at this stage, so we need to make some changes. So let's add a level on top. Play with the handles. We need only white area at the edges. That's good, but it's a little bit too uniform. So let's break that down by using another fill layer. Change the blending mode to subtract. Then using a grunge texture. Let me find one, something like maybe this one. All right, that's gonna break the whole thing. Tile this one 3 times. And maybe a triplanar. All right, let me disable this too and see the grunge only. Yeah, that's good. Change the blending mode back to subtract, enable this too. right? Let me squeeze that down a little bit and play with the balance just like that. And if you want to expand the areas, you need to go back to your level, change the handles here. All right, that's good. Let's see the result by changing the color to something obvious like red. We're targeting these areas, so that's not that good. So let's go back to level, expand the areas, something like this. Maybe drop the opacity for grunge a little bit. And we need to break down the edges, so I'm gonna use a filter called Blur Slope. Hold Alt, click on Mask, and see the result. It's gonna break down based on gradient value, black to white. So this is obviously a little bit too big, so we need to divide this effect by changing the intensity divider to something maybe like 10. Then increase the intensity, something like 100. All right, now this is nice. All right, let's change this to something lighter. Change the blending mode for base color to linear-add. Now let's change the color to, for example, something like this. And also make it rough. Bring everything back. And if it's a little bit off, can change the color as desired. Maybe a little bit lighter. Inside variation also a little bit lighter. Just like that. Let's go back to camera 1. All right. That's good. I might add a little bit dirt in the next part or at the end. So see you in next part. All right, let's add texture to the actual telephone. So before that, let me add a little bit of dirt to the column. So Control Alt, right click on column, isolate. Let's make a fill layer called dirt. All right. I wanted the dirt to be really rough. Also, little bit towards gray color and multiply in color channel. So now let's make it a little bit darker. All right, now it's good. All right, with same arrangement, let's add black mask fill layer. This time, open up the grayscale. The column is already there. Let's use ambient occlusion. All right, so we need to see the mask. So hold Alt, click on dirt or the mask. Then add a level on top. Play with the handles. It's inverted. We need to target the tight areas. So invert. All right, something like this. Let's go back to material by hitting M. Now let's move that and like so. All right, let's make the color a little bit darker. All right, see the mask. And now color, it's too dark. You can obviously drop the opacity for color as well. So, we have a little bit of dirt collecting. So now let's duplicate this layer, remove the mask. All right, disable the previous dirt. This time, let's talk a little bit about the smart masks located inside Asset Browser. Smart masks basically are the mask builder. So if I wanted to replicate this effect, I need to go to black mask and add a generator. Inside the generator, here, mask builder. And mask builder by default is gonna use mesh map baked to drive the mask. So up here we have a global invert, a global balance, global blur, and also contrast. We can use two sets of textures to drive the mask. I'm not gonna do that right now. We have ambient occlusion section, curvature section, world space normal, and position, and also thickness value. So this one is using curvature by default. So if I drop the curvature opacity, it's gonna disappear. So maybe adding a little bit of curvature. Oh, not curvature, ambient occlusion. Add a little bit of ambient occlusion. Open up the ambient occlusion setting. And occlusion opacity, normal value, normal blending mode. All right, let me invert the occlusion, balance that, a little bit of blur. All right, and play with these handles to get to the desired point. Just like that. All right, now if I use textures, I need to have a texture input. Down here above the mesh maps input, you have two sets of texture input. Texture is nothing but a grunge map. So let's use, for example, cloud, maybe 2, drag and drop it here. Go all the way up, and texture 1, let's use that. All right, let's go down inside noise parameters for cloud. Let's add a little bit more scale. All right, inside the texture setting, we have option for triplanar as well. So let's use triplanar and scale, contrast, and also blending mode for texture to be blend with the ambient occlusion. All right, overlay this. Now if I see that more closely with the obvious color, as you can see, we targeted the areas based on mask editor. another way to make masks. So let's close the ambient occlusion and introduce a little bit of curvature. So alt click on mask, add a little bit of curvature, open up the curvature setting and change the settings. Maybe cavities, wall, or edges. And this way we can combine the curvature with the ambient occlusion. So obviously it's not the good idea, so I'm gonna drop the curvature all the way down. We have position gradient as well. It's gonna use our position baked mesh map to drive the noise. So let me go to the position. We have a little bit of balance, right to left, top down, and yeah, it's not that great, so let's drop the position as well, or maybe put it around here. All right, now that we have our mask builder set up, we can right click and where is it here? Unmask, right click and create smart mask. So this is our new mask. Right click, change the name, and now we have our own mask. Or clear the mask, where is it? Clear mask, and use a provided masks, just like this. If I go to mask editor, you will find the same settings: image input for mesh maps and the texture, global setting for texture, and so on. Let's use or search for OCC or occlusion dirt. Occlusion dirt, dust, yeah, that's it. Drag and drop it in here. As you can see, it's gonna have a dusty effect. Inside the dirt, we have some levels. This is a legacy, I believe. So here at the generator, we have a legacy mask builder. It's not that good, but might work in some situation. So we have tray planner for texture, dirt level, and dirt contrast, and also grunge, and also micro height, micro detail. This is a pro area, so don't worry about it. This is our effect happening. Maybe a little bit more dirt. All right, change the color for the material to something gray-ish. And let's delete the previous dirt. All right. Right, done with the column, almost. Let's go for phone body. So Control, Alt, right click, isolate the body, clear the search, and let's go for material. This material for the phone body. Below everything, we have a rust material. So I'm not gonna attempt to make the rust material. So let's make a combination of our material and provided materials. So let's go all the way down. This rust fine is a perfect candidate for this situation. So drag and drop it. As you can see, it contains several channels, just like any other materials, and a little bit of technical parameters, normal intensity and height range, and so on. If I add intensity to normal and also enable the normal, as you can see, we can add more normal. So if I zoom really close, here we have UV seam. So you know what to do. Let's go all the way up. Change the projection mode to triplanar. This time I'm gonna go to the top, move the gizmo here to the left, here, then scale the gizmo down to tile the material just like that. All right, that's nice. We have our base. So let's go and cycle through the channels by hitting C, base color, height, roughness, metallic, and normal height plus, and other. So hit M, go back to your material. Now we need to make this color, this paint on top of the actual rust material. So first of all, let's build the normal bump. Create another fill layer called bump. Add a black mask. Inside the material, alt click on height channel. Add a little bit of height positive. All right, let's zoom really close. Now add a fill layer to the mask. Select the mask, add a fill layer to the mask, and let's see which noise is better for this operation. Let's use this one, Dirt 5. Maybe, but we have the seams, so for this fill, let's use triplanar as well. Make it smaller and tile a couple of times, or 3 times, maybe 4 times. Nice. It's a little bit separated, so let's add a filter of blur to make it a little bit blurry. It's too much, so 0.1. Yep, that's good. Now we have a rusty thing going on. Create a fill layer. Let's call that maybe color. Keep the color by holding Alt and click. Let's sample this color from I don't know, maybe this area. Not bad. Not bad at all. So now we need to make a mask to destroy the edges. So let's put these two bump and color inside a folder. Select them both. Oh, this is not Photoshop, it's not gonna work. So create a folder. Let's call that paint. put these two inside the folder. Drag and drop it inside. Now all inside folder. So we can actually add mask to the folder as well. So let's add a white mask. It's gonna stay as it is. So let's add a fill layer. Inside the fill layer, let's search for body curvature. As you can see here at the curvature, at the edges we have color, so we need to invert that. Add a level on top, invert, change the position of the, oh, it's not gonna be look good like this. So here, yeah, now we have this kind of effect going on. Maybe need a bit less bump inside the bump layer. Maybe 0.1. Yeah, kinda. All right, now let's break this down by adding a fill layer, but I don't want to set the projection again, so I'm gonna go to bump, right click on dirt, copy effect this time, go up, right click, paste effect, and change the input value. So let me find another good looking grunge, something maybe like this. Drag and drop it here. Then use subtract. Right, by its own, it's a really interesting effect. Not bad. Alt click on mask, and this is our mask. Right, let me invert the mask and see the result. It's not bad actually. Also, we have a random seed button, so all right, that's good. I wanted to brush out this part, so I need to add a paint on top. Right, now subtract everything that I'm painting. So let's go use a paintbrush. With a white color and paint out this area. And also on top of this rotary circle thing, make it random as possible. All right, that's good. Nice. Hit Control S to save. And let's see all together. It's not bad. The lighting situation is not that good. So let's go inside the asset browser to the environment and choose another light. maybe change this color inside the folder to something a little bit lighter. All right, good. Let me add, let's see, add another paint on top. This time, set that to max to combine white areas, just like this. Maybe a little bit here. I'm looking at the concept, so. All right, and almost done. A little bit here and done. All right, good. Another light. Let's see, this one, bus garage. Maybe this one is better. All right, now here for the color, we can actually enable the height, add a little bit height to this color area. Let me add this part as well. All right, not bad at all. So, all right, now let's go and add another folder called, for example, paint 2. Add a fill layer inside, and let me sample a color from concept. Make it more greenish. Right, something like that. Let me add this color to color swatch and go down to this color. Yeah, this is much better. All right, now enable the folder. And let's go call that peeling color. All right. I wanted to have a little bit of peeling effect going on. So let's add a black mask to the folder and the paint. Then inside the textures, let me find a good candidate. Maybe this one. Cracked deep. Drag and drop it. We see the actual mask using triplanar and scaling down. All right. Then let's move that down here. All right. Now right, let's see the mask one more time. Not bad. So I wanted to pass this one to another layer, so you know the drill. Let's add a anchor point called paint to mask. So that's our anchor point. Above the folder, I wanted to add another fill layer called actual peeling. And for this layer, we just need to have height. So alt click on height, add positive height, add a black mask, add a fill layer. Inside the grayscale input, anchor point, use this anchor point. All right, it's gonna pop that out. Invert that anchor point. All right. Now, add a filter, blur. It's gonna control the peeling effect. Now, let's add another fill layer and find the same anchor point. This time, change the blending mode to multiply. If I disable the paint below, I need to invert that as well. And invert the grunge here. Right, now we have some peeling effect going on. And that peeling controlled by this height. All right, now let's move this paint on top. And also, we need to use the same. Let me put the paint back down. We need to use the same, where is it, inside the folder, this fill, the grayscale curvature input as mask on top. So let's copy effect inside the paint 2, paste on top here and subtract. I don't like that. So disable and maybe yeah, let's use curvature on top, but in the next part. All right, let's continue. Let's go and copy all of these effects for the paint 1 copy effect. And for example, let me put that on top of the anchor point, paste effect. And yeah, that's really good. All right, so let's put this bump as well inside the paint 2. Now we need to say goodbye to the paint 1. Now all combined together. The curvature, alt paint, and also the peeling effect. All right, it's good. Now let's control the roughness. Hold Shift, right click, drag to the side. The roughness is going to control inside peeling color. So Let's call this one paint color. And drag the roughness to around maybe here. All right, good. If you wanted to have more randomness in roughness, drag and drop the bump above the paint. Then, inside the material for bump, enable the roughness. And now we have control over these dots and roughness as well. A little bit something like this. Nice. Close up the folder and select the folder to close up the mask. Something like this. All right. Now, let's add a little bit dust on top. So, a fill layer called dust. Really rough. And maybe a rusty color, something like this. Inside the smart mask, we have ground dirt, and this ground dirt can be inverted, so can use that, or this one, moss from top. Let's drag and drop that on top of the layer. And wait. All right. That's not bad, actually. Let's go to Mask Builder Legacy and change the level. All right. Less grunge. And also we have top-down gradient. So let's push that to the top. And a little bit less curvature. Let's use this one as a dirt. It's more dirty to dusty. So let's change the name to dirt. Change the blending mode for base color to multiply. And now make the color darker. Now we can actually go back to Mask Builder Legacy, add more level. Just like that. Lighter color. And maybe a little bit of white value. All right. Another fill layer called dust, this time actually dust. Let me search for dust inside the mask, smart mask. Soft dust, yep, that's not bad. Dust surface, so let's drag and drop that one. And this mask builder. That's not good. Delete that. Let's use dust soft. This is much better. So inside the curvature, let's drop the contrast. Also contrast for the texture input. And the curvature setting, let me see. Let's add a little bit of brightness. All right, now let's drive this curvature by using a generator. We saw this generator before, and they're called 3D gradient. So alt click on mask. This thing basically is gonna drive the layer below through a gradient. So a bit more contrast. I wanted that to be on top, so here. And change the blending mode to, I guess the multiply is not bad. Yeah, multiply. Change the blending mode for the layer to something like linear-add. And drop the opacity a little bit. Also, we can add a paint on top. White. Choose a brush. And add these parts as well. Right? And change the blending mode for paint to something like a linear-add with less, or maybe max with less opacity. This curvature is not that good. Yeah, this curvature is not acceptable, so let me add a fill layer instead of using this curvature. Inside the fill layer, let's look for body curvature. And we don't need to have that paint anymore. Add a level on top of the curvature, new curvature. And let's change this setting. Something like this. Then add a fill layer to break the curvature. Use texture, maybe something like the cloud one. With a subtract. And changing this level. All right. Not bad. For this dust layer, let's add a little bit of height as well. Roughness all the way up and a little bit of height. Maybe for this 3D linear gradient, you push that a little bit down. And drop the dust a little bit more. Maybe the paint, let's add another fresh paint with subtracted blending mode. And subtract some of these areas. Let's drop the height. It's a little bit distractive. All right, around here. Almost done. Right, not bad. Now let's reuse all of these for the where's it, what's that called, the handset. So I'm gonna go back to body, shift click, select them all, copy layers, Control Alt, right click on handle, delete this layer and Control V. As you can see, we are transfer the phone to the handle. So let me create a folder, select the folder, black mask, and now let's discuss another use of mask or way to mask areas, and that would be this tool right here, Polygon Field. Select that and you have several options. Select the part of the mesh by using triangle fill, polygon fill, mesh fill, or UV chunk. If I use UV chunk and select, for example, this part, it's gonna just select this UV island. Control Z. If I select the face, I can select the part of the mesh by face. All right, Control Z. I don't have triangles, so it's gonna act as face. So that's that. The thing we need at this point is mesh fill. It's gonna select the mesh elements. So I wanted to add this material to the handle or handset alone. So select this one. All right, now that thing is selected. Let's go and disable the rust almost. Let's enable that, but less opacity, really less opacity. All right. And for the peeling, let's see that. Oh, for the paint. All right. For the paint, let's see here. Yeah, we need to change this curvature. To not have that much color. So let's go back here. Maybe that is a little bit too much. Maybe something like this. And change this grunge to break the color a little bit more. All right, that's good. Now for these two parts, let me isolate this one. For these two parts, let's just use the rust find. So we need to create a folder, add a black mask to that folder with same technique, drag and select these two parts. And if you wanted to make sure it's selection, let me select the, oh, this screw is not in this layer. So alt click on mask and it's going to be white. So back to material level, drag and drop your rust fine. And yeah, it's that. If you wanted to add a little bit of metallic at the edge, you have that option by using a, for example, this steel rough, drag and drop it on top. All right. Add a, let's use one of the provided smart mask. Let me see. Let's search for edge. And let's use gun edge. Drag and drop that on metal rough. So it's gonna make this kind of effect. Let's go to the mask editor, and for texture 2, texture 1, let's drop that a little bit. Drop the whole balance, global balance. Also, let's use triplanar for textures. Open up the texture option, use triplanar. And now we have a little bit of metal underneath. All right, maybe a little bit darker color for the metal as well. Let me go to that material as well. Select that, isolate. All right, not bad. The previous material is still in our clipboard, so hit Ctrl V. All right, not bad. Let's go to the paint, this grunge, and add more grunge. All right. Now, for the rotary, I wanted to use something called SSS, or Subsurface Scattering. This shader here, the default shader, is gonna support the actual subsurface scattering, so we can use that in this project. But before that, we need to go in each where is it, the materials, and add a extra channel. So let me select body, for example, and close this UV tiles. All right, let's go to the texture set setting here, plus, and scattering. All right, create a fill layer, drag and drop it all the way down, alt click on scatter, and set that to 0. SSS 0. All right, now let's copy this layer, go to bolt and nuts, hit the plus and scattering, paste the layer, drag it down, another one, column, scattering, and paste that down, chord, let's paste that here, and set, also paste that here, add scattering channel. For the chord, I forgot to add a scattering channel as well. Rotary, scattering, where is it, here? And for the wall, add a scattering channel and Ctrl B. All right, now Let's go back to rotary. Now if I add a material with a scattering, let me paste that here as well. It's gonna make the subsurface scattering channel and allows to light to go and pass through the material. So first of all, let me create a material fill layer. Let's call that color. And let me sample the color. Maybe here. All right. It's good. Maybe a little bit lighter. Just a little bit. All right. In here, let's go for a scattering channel all the way down. Let's add a little bit of scattering. And in order to see the scattering effect going on, let's go to the display setting, scroll down, active, subsurface scattering. Now, as you can see, it's kind of passed through. All right, now let's add a dirt layer. And a little bit of roughness. Black mask, this time let's use generator of, where is it? Ambient occlusion. Ambient occlusion, here. Let's invert that. And multiply the color. Also, change the color to something darker. Now we have dirt underneath of the rotary. All right, now let me duplicate the color. This one is gonna be top. This one is bottom color. All right, this one going to be a little bit darker. Add a black mask with this Polygon Field, Mesh Field, select the layer below. Make sure by holding Alt and left click. For the top one, black mask, select this top layer. All right, now let's go back and make the color a little bit lighter. All right. It's good. Now the curvature effect. So duplicate this dirt layer. Let's call that curvature. All right. Change the input generator to curvature. Where is it? All right. Not bad. Maybe change the balance a little bit. A little bit of blur. And dropping the opacity. And let's change the blending mode to linear Dutch add. All right, another fill layer called, let's call that dirt 2. Roughness all the way up. For this dirt, also roughness all the way up. All right, black mask, fill layer. Now let's use one of the grunges. Something like this, for example. And let's multiply that color. Not bad. Right? Let's use balance. And drop the opacity a little bit. All right. Now let's go and change the scattering for these layers as well. All right. Not bad. We need to add some numbers inside these circles. So let's do that in next part. All right, let's continue. At any point, you have option to override any channels. So at this point, I'm not happy with the roughness channel. So I'm adding another fill layer, change the name to roughness, alt click on roughness. And as you can see, I have my roughness back and can control that over here. All right, but this is not ideal. So let me go all the way back to this top layer. This top layer, it's not bad on the roughness department. Let's see the dirt and see the dirt mask as well. Yeah, that's gonna be rough, so that's right. The curvature one, yeah, that's gonna be rough as well. And this dirt too, yeah, that's the problem. So let's add a little bit of contrast and less balance. And also, let's replace the grunge input with some of the roughness one, maybe this one, roughness imperfection. Maybe a little bit of contrast and adding more roughness. Maybe invert. Yeah, not bad. Maybe drop the opacity a little bit. Or change the roughness to something a little bit more glassy. At the middle, all right. All right, now let's put all of these inside a folder. And let's call that rotary. All right, create another folder called number. What's that before n? Here. All right. Now let's add a black mask to the folder, fill layer to the black mask. Select the folder, create another fill layer. Let's change the color to a black color. All right. And make it rough. Inside the mask, select your fill layer and let's try something new. Go to your alphas. Here, type, and we have several options for text provided by Adobe Substance 3D Painter. Let's drag and drop one of these into the grayscale value input, and it's going to project the text to the rotary. So we need to change the projection, obviously. Let's change the projection to planar projection. Let me isolate the rotary, and as you can see, this is the issue. We have this kind of effect going on, and we almost lost into the space. But not that lost. We have an option here, surface tool. Click on that and grab this square. Grab that and put it at the surface. All right. Let's move that just like that and scale it down. As you can see, we have our text here. Let's rotate the text. Also, disable the repeat. Now we have only one set of text. All right. All right, now let's put the whole folder inside another folder. Add a black mask to that folder with Polygon Field selection. Select the layer below. All right, this is too much work, so this is one way to add this text right there. Another way would be without this folder and without planar projection. So let's switch back to UV projection with no repeat. All right, that's gonna disappear. Let's go to the UV view F3. Our texture is located in UV01, but our actual UV is located here. So grab that, drag and drop it here. If you wanted to see UV and 3D view at the same time, hit F1. Hold Shift and make that smaller. Here. All right, let's type number 1. Change the camera to orthographic for 3D view. And in front view, let's change the position, change the type to bold. Yeah, that's not bad. All right, we need to repeat this 10 times. All right. Select the font or hit Ctrl D. Just move the gizmo to the new location. Change the blending mode to max to combine these two white points. Alt, click on mask. White points are numbers. Now, all right. Now, hit M. For second one, let's add 2. Control D. It's gonna inherit the blending mode. Type 3 for the input and move the gizmo here. Just like that. All right. Another one, Control D. Number 4. And move that down. Control D. This is 5. Control D and 6. All right. That's 7. That's our 8. That's our 9. And we need to have a 0. And now we are at the numbers successfully. Hit F2, go back to the 3D view, change the camera to perspective. Also, because of using mask, right, like so, we have control over the black material inside. So let's add a little bit of height and a little bit less roughness. Maybe carve down. All right, negative height. So that's gonna be minus 0.1. And if you wanted to destroy the edges a little bit, you have that option as well. Go to the top of the numbers, add a filter of blur slope. Make it 100 for divider. Add a little bit more intensity. All right, that's good. It's a little bit more natural. Bring back everything. And maybe drop the color. Let's go back to dirt 2. It's a little bit too distractive, so make it a little bit lighter. Right, nice. For the inside, I need to have a little bit of dirt. So back to rotary. And maybe this dirt. No. Let's duplicate the dirt. Dirt at 3. All right. More color and a little bit darker. And let's change that input to the ambient occlusion. Also, at the level on top of ambient occlusion, let's see the mask only by hitting Alt and click. I'm not seeing anything. Why? Oh, that's the body. So let's look for rotary and rotary ambient occlusion. All right, and let me see, add a, not filter, a pen. Let's see, the inverse subtract, I guess. Let's use subtract or multiply. Yeah. Use subtract and subtract that parts. And another field. And subtract as well. A little bit more scale on noise. See the result. So a little bit something like this. Of course, we can bring that paint back just like that. Not gonna do that. All right, maybe a little bit. just some stamp. Yeah, it's not bad. Right, we are almost done with the telephone. So let's go for this bottom part. What's that called? The cord. Yeah, that's the same material as cord. So let's go and copy the material from the handset. Copy all of this folder inside this folder here. Or maybe copy the whole folder. Copy layer. Alt, Control, and right click. Paste layer here. Just remove the mask. And or maybe add a white mask with Polygon Field, Mesh Field, with the dark color. Exclude the cord from this equation. All right. For the actual cord, I'm gonna create another folder. Black mask this time. Select the cord. And I'm gonna use a smart material called tire, rubber tire. Drag and drop it inside folder. It's gonna sit nicely. All right, let's go back to our camera. And this is not bad. Let me change the lighting scenario a little bit. Right, not bad. Control C for saving. And let's continue in next part for the back wall and some final touch. All right, let's copy and paste this column material all the way. Control C, Control Alt, right click. Yep, paste that here in the wall. And it's gonna sit nicely. All right. The only thing is missing. Is a little bit of horizontal and vertical lines. And that can be achieved by a fill layer. Let's call that tiles. Just keep the height. Alt click on height. All right. Add a little bit of negative height. Black mask. Fill layer. This time, let's use a tile generator from Substance 3D Designer. So here, tile generator, drag and drop that inside grayscale value. And it's gonna make a waffle by default. So you need to change the input to a square. Here we have some square going on. Let's add a color temporarily to see the lines. All right, now we have our lines inside tile generator. Let's invert the whole thing by adding a level invert. Let's go back to tile and pattern. No, pattern transformation. Yeah, let's add less X and less Y. Make the pattern scale a little bit less. Now we have something like this. Maybe a little bit more. 0.995. Yeah, it's good. Also, you have control over offset. Offset, maybe some offset variation, offset scale, or the whole offset to make the brick wall or something. Or offset random a little bit. Maybe a little bit random, it's not a bad idea. So 0.01, a little bit. Or even less, 0.008. Yeah, even less, 5. Yeah, that's not bad. After level, invert, let's add a filter of blur. Make that a little bit blurry. And after that, let's add another filter, not compression here, add another filter of slope blur. It's gonna destroy that, so we need more divider, 100, more intensity. Now let's disable this color. Right? We divided the concrete. Just like that. Bring back everything. Let's go to camera view. And yeah, that's almost perfect. So let's go back to the wall. And this is our mask. So we can pass this mask to another layer. So we have this dirt going on the surface. Maybe a little bit less. All right, and let's add the color in here and call it a day. So let me add a color and base color, multiply, and yeah, that's that. Nicely done. All right, now we can actually brook some of the areas by adding a fill layer, changing the blending mode to subtract, and use a maybe something like this. Here you can see the effect actually pop out. And make it a little bit more natural. At any time, you can go back to the tile generator, to the scale, and change the scale at any number you want. 0.992 maybe. Let me change this grunge to something else, maybe this one. Right, not bad. Maybe a little bit more. Lower slope. All right, good. Now let's add another layer, final dirt. Make it rough. Make it a little bit darker and multiply. A black mask, a fill layer to that black mask, and let's use, for example, this one. maybe less opacity and yeah. All right, now let's do some final touches. Let me copy this layer dirt. Control Alt, right click on column and paste that on top with Control V. It's not gonna look good. I'm gonna use the grunge for this one, so let's delete the grunge. Add a paint and go to the paint. Choose a paint brush, hit 1, then choose a paint brush and let's paint a little bit with the white around the telephone. Maybe a little bit underneath. Little bit in random places. Also add a fill layer with blending mode off, subtract, and a BMW 2. Alt click on mask. A little bit more scale on noise. And yeah, maybe a little bit more opacity. Less opacity for this layer. Let's go to camera view. Yeah, not bad. All right, and for the body of the phone, Alt click on right click, Alt Control, and here let's use filters in another way. Let's go inside Asset Browser, inside the filter section. All the filters that are available up here inside this filter tool, it's gonna be available here as well, and you can use them separately. All right, now let's grab HSL or hue saturation lightness, put that on top. It's gonna make a paintable layer and attach the filter to that layer, so it's gonna affect the layer below. Let's see, maybe a little bit lighter on everything, more saturated. And maybe changing the hue is not a good thing, so all right. The dust one needs to be less obvious. Linear Dutch add and less obvious. Maybe multiply is better. All right. Now another filter would be color correct. Drag and drop that. We have control over shadows, midtones, and highlights. Let's start with the shadows. Disable the scattering, right? Also disable scattering on this end. All right. Now let's find our shadows. Midtones. Saturation and everything. And highlights up here. Now let's enable the HSL and yeah, not bad. This is gonna affect the body of the telephone only. So we can actually, let me disable this one, delete that. We can actually pass any layer or any effect through some different part of the mesh by instancing. So select this layer, right click, instance across texture sets. This is our source. Let me hit none. This is our source. Leave that unchecked. And let's go select the bolt and nuts, cord, and handset, and select OK. Now you have control over everything that you just selected in one place. All right, let's copy this effect. Control Alt right click on column, paste here, and let's color correct this one as well. Yeah, maybe something like this. A little bit more saturated. And for the highlights, all right, now let's copy this one, go to the wall, copy, where is it, the copy layer, and wall, paste this layer here as well. All right, let's see to the camera one. All right, now let's go back to rotary. Not happy with the result. Where is it? Rotary here. All right, let's see the scattering channel. Right, not that good. Let's go back to bottom color. Make it a little bit more scattering and lighter color. Also lighter color for the top one. All right, and first dirt. Maybe a little bit of scattering. For the curvature, more. For the dirt 2. A little bit more scattering, and dirt 3. All right, let's leave that as it is. All right, now let's bring everything back. Control S. Let's go to the camera view and hit render. More on the render later. All right, it's really dark. So we need to change the shader setting for subsurface scattering to skin. And it's gonna look for scattering color through the albedo or base color. Let's make that a little bit less. Let's go and bring the color back. Render again. Scattering is really high, so let's drop that. Let's make them both almost yellowish, orangish color. Oh, that's too much. And maybe less roughnessy. Let me rotate the light. Disabling the dirt. See the actual colors. It's not that good. So maybe a little bit more of scattering weight. In these layers, let's disable the scattering and pass the scattering through from bottom layer. And just keep the dirt value or color and roughness value. Let's add a little bit of metallic. See the results. Oh, not that good. Inside the shader setting, let's add more distance or less distance. Skin, ray shift, translucent. Yeah, skin it is. Right, I'm not happy with the rotary material, so let me test some of the plastics provided by Adobe. And change the color to something yellow. Yeah, the material is not the issue, the lighting it is. So let me change to something more yellowish. Also change the lighting scenario. Let's rotate that light. and through camera. All right, now it's almost done. The subsurface scattering channel we just added here inside the rotary and use the weight. It's gonna drive the amount of subsurface scattering or level of subsurface scattering SSS and drive that through this material. And the actual scattering is controlled inside the shader setting. We have three different scattering types: translucent, skein, and redshift. Skein is gonna work in this situation a little bit better. And we have scale right here, scale of overall subsurface scattering, and the color by default is gonna look at the color of base color right here, but you can actually change the color inside the shader. All right. Right, not bad. Okay, let's render the whole thing in the next part. All right, after finish texturing, you need to render your scene and publish that if you want. Before rendering, I believe the green is too much green, so let me go back and the paint, make it less green. Yeah, maybe something like that. And save that to color switch. Let's go to handset for the paint and use that color as well. All right, now for the rendering, we have option to go to the camera view or select our camera. Also, we have a little bit of control over the camera here. Field of view, focal length. I guess this 35 degree is the best. Let's see, default camera. No, not good. So let's go back to the almost original one and lock the camera. Or maybe restore that. Yeah, now lock the camera. 29. All right. All right, in order to start rendering, you need to go up here and use rendering using array. Click on that and render will be started. All right. I'm not happy with the rust as well. So first of all, let's change the environment, drag and drop the display and put it here. Maybe make it a little bit bigger. All right. Go up here. Let's change the HDRI input to something else. Maybe something like this. Not good. Maybe let's go back to the body. For this bump, let's add a little bit more bump. Let's check that in render view. Yeah, that's a little bit better. And for the paint, add more roughness. Also, for the rust fine, let's make that color a little bit lighter. Let's check that to the render view. Yeah, that's good. So let's add that color to color switch and go for the handset. Change the color here as well. Also a little bit more roughness for the paint. And maybe even more lighter color for the handset. Yeah, that's a little bit better. All right. By default, iRay, it's gonna start rendering and go to reach the maximum amount of iteration or maximum render time. And those are here, located here. You can add more sample or add more time. Let's set the min sample to 1. It's not touch anything else. Just go to display setting and discover some of these options. We have options for the actual dome shape for the HDRI, radius and texture scale for the HDRI, clear background or see the HDRI through. Let me rotate the camera, clear or see through, have ground, like so, have ground or no ground. So let's go back to camera. Also, position of the ground and a little bit of reflectivity. Let me show you that as well. If I go towards the white area, it's gonna tell the Substance 3D Painter the ground is reflective. And also changing glassiness, it's possible. In this scenario, we don't have any glassiness, so let's make that black. All right, now preset camera, we have setting the camera of in here as well, and also post effect. Enable this and use provided effects to make the render a little bit more interesting. Color correction, you have option over the whole saturation or whole contrast or brightness, or change the amount of the above settings. So let me change that to 1. All 1. All right. And just add a little bit of temperature, the whole scene. All right, now close that up. we have depth of field disabled by array, tone mapping, a little bit of exposure, and gamma. I'm not going to use that. Glare for the reflective parts. We don't have that much reflective parts, so it's not going to work. Vignette, adding a halo of black around the edges. Maybe a little bit. Vignette is not that bad. And also lens and distortion. Less power. And yeah, I don't like that either. So let's disable that. Also, anti-aliasing, subsurface scattering here, sample. We can increase the sample for subsurface scattering. And also we have active color profile, such as Rex 709 here as well. Or some other color profiles. Also, you have control over the white point for that particular color profile. All right. And also, yeah, no, nothing else. All right. Let me change the light to something else and test another lighting scenario. Rotating the light is possible by this handle or just with the holding shift and right click. Array is not the best render engine, but it's gonna work in majority of the times. And yeah, I'm still not happy with this color. So let me see and find the problem. This color is not that good. So let me find another one from concept. It's not good either. Maybe making this one darker. No, let's use the original color, make it something like maybe this. All right, I know I have a smart material called tank something, still tank. This color is really good, so let me add that to the top. And copy this color here, and let's delete that. Let's go back to paint and use this new color. All right. The problem might be this color correction a little bit. So less saturated, a bit more luminous. All right, maybe. Let's see other options. Maybe adding the HSL on top. No, it's not good. Let's see that in render view. All right, let's bring back the rust material by selecting that and click on the original rust. Also for the handset. Maybe inside, where is it? Oh no, for the body. This grunge. Let's go and change this grunge, or maybe, where is it here? Let's see, disabling the peeling. Not this grunge, this one plus this grunge. Now let's see the result. All right, maybe a little bit a glossiness on the paint. All right, let me change the lighting scenario. And also let's go to the post productions and tone mapping. A little bit of exposure, color correction, a little bit of saturation or desaturation, and overall brightness. Now let's use that exposure one. All right, not that bad. Let's go for rotary. Again, Maybe this dirt 3 is good. Dirt 2, disable that. No. Let me sample the color from concept. Both colors. See the result. And let me change the scattering scale. It's too much. And scattering color, let's change that to something lighter. All right, and what about translucent? No, it's not good. What about redshift? No, the skin is better. All right, now for the actual rendering. One thing I forgot to mention is the aperture. Aperture means depth of field by basically. So let me add a little bit of aperture, maybe 0.5. It's gonna blur out everything unless I hold Control and middle click on a surface that I wanted to be focused on. All right, maybe add a little bit more vignettes. And let's see, mapping factor, a little bit more exposure. Inside the color correction, a little bit less saturation and more contrasty. All right, now we need to set up our export parameters. With this button, you can override the resolution. So let's click that and have the resolution 1920 by 1080. All right, that's good. And set the max time to max sample to something high, 5000. It's gonna say done because we only let that render session to run at 10 seconds. So let's set that to 10 minutes. I'm not gonna leave that, so let's switch that to 10 seconds. And when rendering is done, either iteration reached 5000 or rendering time reached 10 minutes, you can save your render right here. Save render, give it a name and save it, or just directly send that to your ArtStation. I can see that option no more. I don't know, maybe yeah, maybe they exclude that in this version. So you had an option to save render and put that directly inside in your ArtStation portfolio. So now you have your save render. So save that and upload to the portfolio. So let's set that to 10 minutes and leave that to be done. Right? Iteration reached 5000 before 10 minutes and render status is done. So I can actually save my render. I don't know, 0, 1, and let me find the render, and this is our final render. Right? You can actually change the where is it, the vignette after rendering finished. So in my render it's a little bit too much, so just drop that and save the render again. Now it's better, and yeah, it's not bad. All right, that's it. Save your project and done. I'm gonna include the where is it, this texture and this material to the project file so we can test on them. All right, thank you for taking this course and watching. Don't forget to keep practice and to get better. All right, see ya. Good luck.